Did you know that first year nurses experience the highest turnover of any group? That reality is staggering, but it also tells us something important. You are not alone and your growth matters. Welcome to the All One Nurse podcast, where we are bridging the gap between the stethoscope and the soul through real nursing stories and nursing conversations. Here, our mission is simple: to get back to the human side of healthcare. I'm your host, Nurse Shenell Tompkins, and I'm also your mentor and nurse educator. And this space was created just for you to breathe, to learn, to grow, and most importantly, feel supported, no matter where you are in your nursing journey. So take a deep breath and let's step into your next breakthrough. Hey, friend, welcome back to the All One Nurse podcast. I'm so glad you are here with me today. It's February, and it's one of my favorite months because it's so meaningful. It's Black History Month, which is not enough time to celebrate it, but we still get an opportunity to honor the legacy, brilliance, and resilience woven into the fabric of healthcare by those who have paved the way before me. And it's also Heart Health Month, which always reminds me to check in with my physical heart and my spiritual heart. And as nurses, we just post so much out that we also have to pause and just ask, how's my heart really doing? Literally. How is my heart doing? What is your heart posture? As I've been discussing in my own mentorship program called Woman to Woman, but more on that later. But today's episode, it really fits into the theme of heart work because we're joined by someone who has spent over 50 years caring for people at some of the most vulnerable moments in their lives. Her name is Ann Wax, and her expertise lies in the human experience of cancer care. And today she is sharing some of the light and heavy moments regarding her journey and transition of becoming an oncology doula, which just took place in 2025, where she's offering compassionate presence, emotional and spiritual support, and helping patients and families understand that it's not just about treatment, but the meaning behind what they're walking through. She's passionate about helping nurses reconnect with empathy and presence, the kind of care that goes beyond protocols and gets back to the human side of healthcare, which is what we're doing here at All One Nurse. She's also the author of op-ed on cancer, and she previously had a website called romanticseniors.com where she explored connection, aging, and dignity in the senior population. But before we jump in, I want to offer a gentle reminder that if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing so that you don't miss another episode and that others will discover this podcast as well. And one thing I love about having conversations with nurses from around the nation and hopefully from around the world is that here at All One Nurse, we welcome different viewpoints and generations of nursing and stay focused on what truly matters, which is growing together and returning to that humanity in every patient and in each other. And as we talk about cancer care, here's a grounding reminder. According to the American Cancer Society, the U.S. was expecting to see over 2 million cancer diagnoses in 2024, which is the highest number ever recorded. And this is why conversations like this with Ann Wax matter. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's walk into this heart-centered conversation together. Hi, Miss Ann. How are you doing this evening?
I'm delighted to be with you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us on the All One Nurse podcast. Yes. Now, tell us a little bit about you and what made you pursue nursing.
I've been a nurse for over 50 years, probably older than many of the people that are listening to this podcast. And actually, I didn't really wanna pursue nursing. That's the irony of it.
Wow.
My mother was a nurse, and at the time, I did not wanna be like my mom, which is ironic now. And my father decided after I was all set going to college and ready to go, he says, "No, you should go be a nurse." And I said, "I don't wanna be
Wow.
a nurse." And he says, "No, you should go be a nurse." And actually, that was the best advice he ever gave me, and I wouldn't have been in this, business for so long if it wasn't. I learned a lot about life, and I learned a lot about people, and it was a skill that was, always, it was a gift to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, when you say 50 years ago, what type of program did you come through at that time?
So what happened was I went into the 2-year nursing program, and I worked there, and then I went on and I got a degree in education, in healthcare, because I always thought I should be a teacher. But every time I was going back or doing different things, I got married. So my husband was an attorney, is an attorney, and we
Oh, wow.
went down to Baltimore. That's where I had the Southern experience. We went down to Baltimore, and I got a job at Johns Hopkins Hospital, a brand new oncology unit, and I didn't know really what I was getting into. But again, it was a wonderful experience, and it seems like every time I was going to do something else, I was always drawn back into nursing. So
Wow.
it was nursing was very good to me, and as I said, enabled me independence and to be free at the same time to do what I wanted to do because I was always able to reinvent myself, find a niche in nursing that I could do, and that's the beauty of nursing. Because a lot of people say, well, when they go into another profession, they are just that one profession.
Yeah.
Nursing, you learn so much, you can turn around and do many different things, which I did.
Yes. So tell us, what all did you do, Miss Ann?
That's a long story.
I know.
So what happened was I did oncology nursing, and as I said, I got a wonderful education there at Johns Hopkins. Their philosophy at the time was, "You may not stay here, but we're going to teach you about oncology and take that knowledge elsewhere." And I did. And then I did utilization nursing, and then I did psychiatric nursing. I taught at the BOCES program here in New York, and we took students into Creedmoor, which is a very large psychiatric hospital. And then I opened up my own business called Healthcare Advocates, where I lectured and spoke on health and wellness, and the other part to senior sexuality. It was a very hot topic, and I was very popular at conferences.
That's awesome.
I
And
used
it's
to give out condoms to
really
because what people don't understand with senior sexuality, they have a very high rate of sexual transmitted diseases. And when I went to conferences, you always have to brand yourself. And this was before content marketing. And I actually had condoms flavored with my logo on it. And I spoke in nursing programs. I spoke at Binghamton in their master's program about senior sexuality. A lot of people are not aware of it. And I took that on to I still stayed in oncology nursing, and I still did that too. I did multitasking, so to speak, with my career.
wow. You did 2 totally different things, oncology and sexual health.
But sexual health is related to oncology, where again, I also wrote a book called Op-Ed on Cancer because it also has a whole chapter on that too, because nobody addresses sexuality. Uh,
Mm,
um, Now they're just starting to, but intimacy they don't really talk about because what happens is I'm very open, and a lot of times the healthcare professionals are not, and they take their lens, their skew on their sexual take, and
yeah.
nobody wants to talk about it. And a lot of times I used to have patients, um, about talk about intimacy and touch, and many times with, women with breast cancer, their body gets disfigured, and it's very hard to relate in the partners. So, actually, sexuality,
That
intimacy,
is
a very large
good.
part of oncology, yes.
Oh, wow. I never really thought, I guess now since you say it like that,
Nobody thinks it. In fact, I'm
yeah.
I'm putting together like a conference on survivorship because after the oncology, after the treatments, you're still left with what do you do with intimacy and sexual, some parts work, some parts don't work. And people are not like when women are having mastectomies now, and a lot of times it's a wonderful surgery now, nerve sparing, where they leave the nerve, the touch in the breast tissues because that's part of intimacy.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times I had women when they would complain and they say, "And I can't feel anything. I don't feel as a woman." And then again, then they have the other part with prostate cancer and not performing. And people always talk to me about all
Yeah.
their problems. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but somehow they gravitated to me.
You just seem
Other
very
than that,
welcoming.
maybe that.
Yeah. Very welcoming. I think just to take that time to really see them as a whole person, and it's like you invite that safe space, it appears, for patients to truly open up.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's what they
awesome.
say. That's what they say. And, without the touch and feeling of love, you can have all the treatments in the world and it may help you, but emotionally it doesn't.
Mm, that's good. You went deep. Like, we're not even 10 minutes into this interview, Miss
Oh, I can
Ann.
take you
You
flying.
went,
Girl. I can take you all the way, let me tell you.
oh my God,
Years and years and years. I
man.
have well, me pivoted now. I guess I don't know if that's one of your questions, but to do oncology nursing. Into oncology doula because
Mhm.
a doula is mean caring, it's a mother, because people don't have that anymore. They need someone to sit with them, talk with them, and a lot of them are scared and they have, the panic attacks and things like that. So you can have navigators, you can have the doctors and nurses, but you need that element of healing, which people aren't getting anymore. Yeah. Emotional, I should say, the emotional element. They're getting the
Yeah.
physical, the
Yeah.
emotional.
Yes. I love that you say that. And I think that's where I am so passionate about this platform, because I truly want to get back to the human side of healthcare, which is seeing the patient. For one, we have to be our whole self, but also seeing the patient for who they are and not just, okay, checking off tasks. We can do all those things well, but do you truly make that connection with the patient?
That's what I tell patients too, because I had a doctor once tell me how I talk a lot. And I said, but I get my work done. And I managed to find out what's really going on with the patients. Some people can't
Yes.
do that. Anyway, point of the story is I tell patients, even if it's an emergency, let's get to the facts. Let's find out what's going on with you and tell me how you feel and we'll move forward. And to get that baseline about what is really going on with the patient is essential. Where a lot of times, especially with young nurses, what I have found is that they get intimidated. They don't feel
Mm.
free to ask questions. They feel afraid and, or how that patient's gonna react to them. And, I say, "Don't worry about that. Just ask the questions that you feel is necessary, because if you find out what's really going on, underlining what's going on with the patient, that helps the healing process."
Yes, ma'am. It's time for a faith filled nursing note. And today I want to focus on wholehearted care in hard places. Because listening to Anne's story and her experience with patients today reminds me so much of Caleb in Joshua 14. Miss Anne has been dedicated to oncology for over 38 years. That's a long time. And Caleb was a man who followed God wholeheartedly, even when the journey was long, rough, and the crowd around him didn't always understand his faith. He had faith when he was 40 years old, and 45 years later, he still has that same faith and tenacity to believe in the promises of God and say, hey, God, I'm ready and I'm still dedicated. So, as nurses, especially in spaces like oncology, where emotions run deep and the human experience is raw, we are invited into that same kind of wholeheartedness like Caleb. Not perfection, not endless strength, but a steady anchored heart that keeps showing up with compassion, presence, and purpose. And since it's Heart Health Month, this is a good moment to pause and ask, how is my heart? Am I serving from a place of overflow or am I running on fumes? Caleb teaches us that wholeheartedness isn't loud, it's faithful, it's consistent, it's choosing to trust God with the parts of the journey we don't understand. And Anne's decades of walking with patients through fear, uncertainty, and hope reminds us that wholehearted nursing is sacred work. May God strengthen our today, the one we use to care for others and the one he longs to care for in us. Okay, let's get back to our conversation with Miss Ann because she doesn't disappoint in this next part. Now, when you started out, at what moment during your nursing journey did that kind of just click for you? Or did it just evolve over time?
I think it has to do with me. I find people fascinating in the sense that everybody has a story. And I've also tell people over and over again, when somebody's angry at you or nasty towards you, it's really not you. It's what's going on inside them. And that many, many times you have to understand that. And and all my life, I've been as I said, I talk to people, and no matter where I go, they sort of like line up a history, so to speak.
Yeah.
They tell me what is really going on. And I guess they feel comfortable with me because I understand there's a lot of hurt inside.
Yes, ma'am. And I think just for you to just come in and ask in the first place, like asking questions kind of for me will help me let my guard down because you
Well,
care
some
enough to ask.
some people say to me, like, I'm rude. And I say to them, well, it's really not rude. I said, if I can learn how you feel and what you're going through, I said, I'm not asking these questions in the sense that I'm nosy or I'm curious. I'm asking them because when I find out what's going on with you, especially with oncology nursing, a lot of times people come in and their pressure is high or they're nauseous or, they had a fight with their spouse or they couldn't sleep. And, if you pinpoint these questions more, then you're able to communicate with the physician, you're able to communicate with the patient, and you're quicker to get care to them. I had patients that ask me, they pull me over, they ask me if the doctor is a good doctor. I had patients that ask me all the time. I have patients that ask me, especially with oncology, when I take care of them, usually at follow-up visits, "Am I going to die?" People ask me these questions, and they don't I guess because I'm truthful, I tell them they're not gonna die that day. I mean, that I can tell them truthfully.
That's true. You don't see it happening, right? Okay. So with oncology, so you've done oncology most of your career
Yes.
in addition to trying to branch away, but still just
I've
couldn't break
always
away.
Oncology, yeah, I've
Okay.
always back to oncology. I guess that's where my mission is, how you may call it that, but I've always come back to oncology.
Yes, ma'am. Now, with becoming a doula, when did that transition take place? And when did you first learn about it?
Well, what happened was, I in June, I stopped doing oncology, infusion oncology, chemotherapy. It was change, I got sick, I got COVID, and
Mm,
I knew at this stage of the game, I said to myself, as much as I really enjoyed doing it and I enjoyed my colleagues, I miss them, I decided I don't want to get out of the game, so to speak. So I decided instead of, I don't have to get chemotherapy, but I can still give advice and walk people through the challenges of oncology. And that's what it is. And people have always called me up throughout my career and asked me for my advice and what do I think and what they should do. So now it's just pivoted into without giving them chemotherapy, I'm able to give them the emotional support. And it's mainly to walk them through for healing and wellness.
yes, ma'am. That's awesome. And with this, do you do this with organizations? Like, are you like a liaison, or how does that
No,
work?
because what I also find I'm independent.
Okay.
So I would like to work with an organization, let's put it that way, to share and to, the different offices and different agencies. But at this moment, I'm on my own.
And that's just you just started this year. Yeah. So that means you never know what next year looks like, especially as we bring more awareness to it, because I'm pretty sure what I've witnessed with even just family members and friends of family members having cancer, or like they ring the bell and they're cancer free, but then after that, it is so much more.
Well, that's my intention, and that's why I'm setting up some seminars, conferences on survivorship afterwards, because once the treatment is over, then, like, everybody's happy that it's over, but then what? What happens afterwards? And many, many people now, more and more people are getting cancer, and many of these people are living with side effects from it.
Yes.
And the sad part is, like, I'm on, LinkedIn, I have many, many followers, and I get DM messages all the time about the side effects and what to do, and are they the only ones? And people have
Mm,
to understand they're not, and it's a sad part because, our society doesn't understand it because the bells and whistles are gone, and then what happens? Here you are alone, nobody brings you food anymore. Nobody goes and holds your hand. Your family's happy you're well, but they say, "Get over it," and you're too tired even to go back to work emotionally. People don't understand the oncology.
yeah. And the financial burden.
Well, that's a whole 'nother story. That's a whole other story with the financial burden. Again,
Telling you.
you have patients that come in, and before they come into a hospital, before they receive chemotherapy, it's always the insurance. So, and sometimes the insurance won't pay for one medication that actually, has less side effects, or they wait till you get side effects, and then they'll pay for the medication. It's very hard to watch this because here you are, you're an oncology patient, and you're trying to figure out how to live, and then you find out, well, the insurance isn't gonna pay for it, or you get a bill and you wanna know how you're gonna pay for it. Now, the other part, which they don't talk about, is the trials. Everybody says a lot of times to go on a clinical trial, especially for an indigent population, and what they don't realize is with an indigent population, a lot of them don't have insurance, so they can't go on trials.
Mm,
And so it's a catch-22,
yeah.
and it's not, how can I say, it's not controlled by big business. People say that. It spins around and around and around, and we have to, if the public gets more aware of prevention and understanding what to do, and advocacy, maybe it would be better.
Thank you so much. I just remember having a conversation with a friend, well, basically like family, but just being a sounding board. I
Mhm.
didn't realize all that came with after.
After is a lot more than
After.
going through, because cancer has you have a physical component to cancer, and you have an emotional component to cancer. And a lot of the emotional components go back to childhood wounds, where you're physically abused, emotionally abused, sexually abused, do you feel inadequate? And all these things go into how you focus on treatment. And then
Wow.
when you're finished with the treatment, and sometimes people are never, I tell patients all the time, cancer is more of a chronic disease now. You have, people living with stage 4, metastatic diseases, but I tell them, keep going and you will find that more and more new treatments are coming out. So, but at the same time, it's the emotional component that really has to heal also, and people don't understand that, and they look at you and they say, like, a lot of times I tell patients, "Oh, you're gonna have friends come over and you'll put your makeup on, people wear wigs, clothes, and then they'll come over and they'll look and they'll get up right to your eyes and look at you and say, 'Gee, you don't have cancer. You look so well. What's going on?' And meanwhile, they don't know what's going
Yeah.
on internally, the hurt.
Yeah.
But that's why, more and more people should get educated. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I wrote my book, was to help the person who's going through this, how they're going to react to the public that will go up and ask these questions.
Yes, ma'am. Now, is your book, is it, where all can we find your book?
So my book is on Amazon. It's called
Mhm.
Op-Ed on Cancer.
Yes, ma'am.
And Op-Ed on Cancer, I chose that title because I somebody called me. It was, one of my patients called me an op-ed page. He said to me, "That's what I am." So I said, "Okay," because it's sometimes you gotta find a good title,
Yeah.
and nothing really suited me and my personality, so I am an op-ed page, and because my book is a self-help book, but it's not the same type of self-help book. It talks about legacy, purpose in life. Yes, we're all going to die one day, so what are you going to do to help yourself and to help others, you know? And
Mm,
also, the other part to people don't understand is, and I say this all the time to my patients, let people help you. It's part of ingrained in our human essence is that when somebody helps you, you are actually helping that person be
yeah.
a human being and learn gratitude. And that's the other thing people don't understand.
Yes. I'm learning that myself. Like, I'm always the type that I'm like, oh, I don't mind blessing other people. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bless them with this. I'm gonna do this, and I can do this. But then when somebody say, "Oh, Chanel, this is for you," or I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good." And then I have to tell myself, don't take that away from them, especially when I know how it feels to be able to help others. Like, I need it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I always say I'm
Yeah.
balanced, and if they help me, I
Yeah.
get unbalanced.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with me. But, it depends on who's talking to you. But if
Yeah.
somebody is not well and
Mhm.
they can't clean or they can't go to the, doctors and they need people to take them, and when
Mhm.
somebody clearly says, "Let me help you,"
Yeah.
that's when that's an intervention, and I
Yes.
say that, and that's when you can let someone help you. I mean, I
Yes,
really,
ma'am.
at this point in my life, I don't want anybody helping me. I
But
still want to be independent.
look, Miss Ann, now you gotta take your own advice. If somebody
Yeah, I'm
wants to
working
help
on
you, you
it.
gotta let them. You gotta let
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yes, but I agree with that. I tell, see, with my small kids, I'm like, "Look," I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. Imma bring that," and they're like, "Girl, leave those kids right here." I'm like, "You know what? Say less.
Oh,
Imma
but
let
that's
you."
different. See,
Yeah.
I let people help me with my children, see, that's different.
Look, let me put some context to it. Imma let you help me with these kids. But yes, I even tell students, like, lean on your support system and identify your support system. Sometimes we don't even want to ask for help.
Help also, when you ask for help, you also have to remember who you're asking it.
Right.
If you're asking it from somebody that's going to, um, come back at you one day and say, "Look what I did for you," and then you
Yeah.
start that whole conversation. So, hypothetically, yes, you can ask for help, but that's why I phrase it and say, if you're an oncology patient or something, if you're
Mhm.
not well, or if you need help with child raising or something like that, then you
I
should
like that.
play with the idea.
I like that. So be careful
Yeah,
what
always be
help you
careful
invite.
who you for. Yeah, because, sometimes you don't wanna hear it, and
Yeah.
then you get more independent, then you'll never ask for help. So you pick and choose the conversation.
Yeah. That balanced help.
That's
I like that. Balanced. Okay. Now, Miss Ann, what advice do you have for our new nurses and aspiring nurses?
one advice I like to give to nurses is for them to understand when you have someone who is acting out, who's angry, sometimes insulting, that it's not
Mm,
directed at you.
yeah.
And take a deep breath. And if you get insulted or you feel like you cannot work with that person, get someone else to work or take care of that patient and understand it's
Good.
not about you. I see it a lot of times, and the nurses come over to me, and because I'm older and more stern, I'll go over and tell the guy, or patient, I say, this is a wonderful nurse. Why are you giving this nurse time, but I can get away with that.
Yeah.
But the point of the story is that understand that it's not about them, and don't get disheartened or upset when someone says, "I don't want you, I don't like you," or all the other negatives that may come up. And if you don't feel, you can, take care of that patient, just say and go talk to your manager or your mentor or your preceptor and say that to them and be honest because you don't want an incident because that could hurt your license. And you also learn that, sometimes if it's a difficult situation to walk away.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the other part is empathy. Understand understand that when you take care of a patient, the patient's giving you their trust. And
Yeah.
to understand that. And, like I started IVs and an IV is a very intimate experience. Somebody's sticking their arm out and you're sticking a needle or inserting a needle into them and understand empathy and know where they're coming from and try to make a situation more calming if you can. I
I like
usually tell
that.
stories. I always tell patients stories.
Like,
Politics depends. Politics are also interesting.
God, you gotta get somebody in trouble. I love how you said that starting an IV is an intimate experience. That's
Yes, it
true.
is.
That's I've never looked at it like that, but that's pretty true. I mean, there are
I wrote a post on that too, LinkedIn, and it's true, and I say that to patients. In fact, when I start the IV, I usually say thank you
mm,
for allowing them to give me their trust, and people get
that's
shocked
good.
because I am outspoken and I kibitz, I have fun, but in all seriousness, when they're facing their challenges and they're scared and upset and they're putting their trust with me, that's quite an honor, I feel, and it's empathy and to understand that, and it is an intimate experience because you're taking see, I feel we're all together, it's all energy, and, they're giving me their energy, and I'm giving them my energy, and
That
I'm starting this, IV or this insertion of a needle.
and they can feel it. They can feel your energy. Like if you
Yes.
yeah, I was just telling Dr. White in her interview that patients can tell, they can feel your energy and they will say, I don't want that nurse back in my room.
Uh,
And I'm just like, okay.
mhm,
So that's why you get all those questions,
mhm.
Miss Ann, because you're just your energy. You can feel it. Your spirit. It's like you, even just here with you, I'm sure if I wasn't on this recording, that I could probably have some good conversations about my own private life, right?
Well, it depends. Sometimes I could give you a big headache too, but that's what people don't understand. We're all spirits of energies and people feel vibrations also with the
Mm,
energies. So therefore, so when you walk into a room, like I had a couple patients say, "Are you new at this?" And in the beginning, yes, I was, but I go, "Oh no. Oh no, oh no, no, I'm good, I'm good." And I take a deep breath and I talk, I look up to the sky and I say, please, okay. And then
yeah.
it's done. But the point of it is that, people can sense things. And when you go in there, you have to understand that, it's hard for them and it's also hard for you.
Yeah. So with that, because what I'm hearing is like confidence, building. What advice do you have for new nurses
With
coming
confidence?
into yes, like, how did do so question, were you always talkative?
Yes.
You were
Yes.
see, I have to ask because I had a nurse that was she mentioned that she wasn't as she wasn't talkative, but nursing and her experience has made her speak up. And I was like, "Yeah, you definitely have to build some resilience and a voice if you're gonna take care of patients."
Well, I've always I find people interesting because everybody has a story, everyone has a
Yeah.
narrative, and everybody can teach you something. So when I
Mm,
speak to patients or when I speak to, like the personal care assistants, or I always was on the team, so to speak. If they help me, I help them. You work as a team. Everybody's a storyteller, and
yes.
everyone can teach you something. My years of nursing, I met many different types of people. I've taken care of famous people. I've taken care of indigent people. It doesn't matter. I've taken care of people that were prejudiced against towards me and all these variables. And you learn from it. And what I've learned, people are people. And, that's what it is. And if
Yeah.
someone doesn't like you, that's okay. You
Yeah.
just move on to someone else. That's not your
And
issue. And you don't make
right.
people love you either. It doesn't matter.
You said a whole word on this interview today. Yes. Back on topic. When we talk about being a doula, how can providers and nurses and doulas collaborate with one another to help create a more patient centered model of oncology care?
Well, usually a doula, you would go into if you're allowed to, it depends. You would go into the uh, treatment room or you go into the office visits and you
Okay.
listen to what the doctors have to say or the nurses have to say. And then, if the patient has any questions, you can help format questions if they want to ask. You're not so much a spokesperson because, you're giving the advocacy of the energy of it, allowing them to have
Hmm.
the independence. And then in nursing, if they go into an infusion center or into the hospital, you can go in and observe what's going on. You can sit with them. You can, offer if they need something to drink or eat or emotional support. And especially when you go at home, a lot of times too, when they're home, you go visit them at home and help alleviate the anxiety. A lot of times people get scared when they go in for scans, follow up, or just take them out. I took a patient, we go walking, just for walking and just,
Oh.
I guess, let that patient let me rant all day about certain people, so that's what I'm saying. Getting them off allowing them, yes, they have cancer, but allowing them to know that they can live with it, or they will be able to finish their treatment and to have a well-being. The ultimate thing is healing. You heal physically and emotionally, and that's what a doula does, is helps patients walk through it. And
Love
also
that.
doulas family too. You have
Mhm.
family members that come and they want them to take every sort of smoothie or all these different things, the naturals,
Yeah.
uh, drugs or whatever they may be.
Yeah. Those natural regimens
Yeah,
that they want them to do.
it's frowned on. A lot of it is frowned on.
Is it frowned on with, in combination with chemo or just in general?
And well, in chemo, because a lot of
Like
times it can change
oh,
the most important thing is if you wanna do prevention, get some sleep.
mm,
8 hours of sleep is supposed to be important. I'm telling
yeah.
you this, you get a lot of sleep.
Yes, ma'am. Look, I've been going to bed super early because I like to wake up early, so I figured I can't go to bed late and wake up early. I'm not gonna be any good, so I'm learning that rest is very important.
Yes.
Very important. So, thank you for sharing that. I want to wrap it up for you.
What I have here, what did I do with it? About nursing. That people should understand that with nursing you need nurses to help heal the patient, and that's one of the most important things. You can have the best doctors, you can be in the best hospital, but if you don't have a nurse there helping you, seeing what is going on with you, patient care, bedside care, emotional care, it doesn't matter. You need the nurse, and that's what society has to understand.
Yes, ma'am. You've said a lot. And people don't realize, like, how out of all the employees in that organization, how many of them are nurses.
That's true.
I think they don't realize the percentage of nurses that make up the healthcare system.
I think they do, but they don't realize the value of it, and that's the
Mm,
difference. From my experience and what I have seen, and even to this day, when I go visit the oncology patients, as a doula, you need that nurse. You need that nurse that has the eyes and ears, professional eyes and ears of taking care of someone. And I think society is losing it. And I think they're losing it because, management's coming in and say, well, again, well, you have the computer, you have the PCAs, and you have to chart. And there's nothing wrong in charting because that's a whole nother thing. But the management, even though they say they are aware, they have to be more aware of the necessity of nurses if you want good health care.
yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it seems like things just keep circling.
Yep.
Man, it's like, how do we get to a point? Like, are we going to be singing the same song
Well,
5 years from now?
my mother was a nurse in the 30s and the 40s, and she saw me graduate nursing school and everything, and they were complaining about the same issues, ironically, as we are today.
Wow.
Hours, charting, nursing duties. The difference is nowadays, patients are sicker than what they were back then,
Yes.
and heavier than they were back then. And now we have machines that they think that can do nurses' jobs, and that's the other part. You still need the eyes and the ears of listening to what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. And I know AI is being integrated into every single thing.
Well, AI is okay. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of AI. See, I think, that's the future and it does pick up on a lot of things.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you still need, or maybe you don't need the human touch, they can tell you elsewhere, but you need that human touch in the hospital scenario and in all the
Yeah.
modalities of nursing. You
Yeah.
need that touch because we're still human and you still have to trust giving you the treatment.
That's good. And I'm just scared that they're gonna try to use AI to do a
They are.
human's job.
They are. But again, see what I found with nursing, nurses take it. That's
Mm.
the whole thing because we at some point see, I was very fortunate financially. I could pick and choose where I wanted to go, and it was all right with me financially. But I know people that cannot walk away from the job. That's the issue. How do you walk away from something when you know it's not safe? When you know that, you're breaking your back. I mean, I know nurses that are hurting their back now. Even to start an
Yes.
IV, they bend their back and they hurt their
Mhm.
back. And
Yeah.
so AI is there to help you. Look, we have, blood pressure machines now that are helping us. You even have the EKGs with their little card now. You don't even need the
Yeah.
big machines anymore.
Yeah.
So those are
Do it on your
interventions that
watch.
help the nurses, that's right.
Yeah.
So we can incorporate it all, but the nurses have to be, more vocal with understanding that you need the human touch for healing because we're all human.
That's good, Miss Ann. Now, as we wrap up, what legacy do you hope to leave in the
Let me
lives of
see.
those you serve?
Well, they hear my voice. My one quote I usually say to everyone is you have to be your own lifeguard. You have to take care of yourself first. If you want to take care of others, you have to take care of yourself first because if you're not well and if you cannot do the job, then you cannot take care of others. And that goes with nursing, that goes with being mothers, and to understand that. And don't feel guilty.
You talking to me now.
No, yeah, well, guilt is wasted. That's another lecture I give to my patients. Guilt and shame are wasted energies, just
Mm,
wasted.
I take that. I receive it, and I'm not even your patient.
I know. Well, that's what happens. I talk to everybody and I say that. Uh, I usually tell people I have 5 minutes to take care of you and that's it. Not my patients on the outside. 5 minutes. Somehow tell me what, I say that all the time.
I'll take my 5 minutes. That was very impactful. I like that because a lot of times as a nurse, and when you say that we take it as nurses, we just take it. That is so true. 'Cause yes.
And the same thing with healthcare too. The healthcare workers don't understand. People just don't understand. Everybody has a story and everybody has scars and wounds. People have no idea. That's why when I say empathy, understand what the other person is. Now, look, I'm not this kumbaya person, as you can tell too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a pushover, but at the same time, there are people with real issues in our society, everybody gets angry and things like that. I tell like when people come in and they're all I say, "Okay, okay,
So
what do you want? Okay."
big question that I have, and I have talked about this on a TikTok about transition shock. Like new nurses going from nursing programs to now they're in the healthcare system and they're
Big time.
working and totally shocked. Like it's a lot.
Well, you have to remember, you gotta again remember problem. Look, when I went at the Stone Age, when I was the first there, nurses were resentful to new nurses
Mm,
back at okay?
yeah.
And I didn't know how to do certain things. That was the other thing I was gonna say during the broadcast. I didn't know how to do certain things because they didn't, I wasn't taught, but I asked, and I wasn't afraid to ask, and that's the other thing. You can't go wrong in asking. You may get a look, you may get a sneer, but you ask. You go in and you help them. Or let them figure it out in a sense, but, you're a team. I mean, I would go in and when I worked nights, I would go in and I'd say, "Look, let me help you." Or a piece let me help you. If I was free because they would come back to you. But I talked a lot. We've spent a long time together.
And I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you, Miss Ann.
Thank you.
Well, how can they connect with you as we wrap up?
Oh, so they can find me on LinkedIn, Ann Wax, ANNWAX, and then they can find me, they can send or DM me on LinkedIn. They can find my book, Op-Ed on Cancer. They can, my email address is annwax7@gmail, and I'm going to be doing seminars or conferences about survivorship and what happens after chemotherapy. And actually, I'm trying to see which topic people like best on my LinkedIn so they can go and see the post and read my posts and like my posts. I enjoy it. I like seeing all that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much. And I will definitely have all the details down in the description below. And thank you.
Pleasure, and please keep in touch with me, and may all your listeners keep in touch with me too.
Thank you for joining in today's conversation with Mrs. Ann Wax. I hope something in this episode encouraged you, challenged you, and reminded you of the heart behind why you do what you do or why you want to become a nurse. And listen, if you are a newer nurse with less than 18 months of experience, or you're aspiring to become a nurse, you don't have to walk this journey alone. I say that all the time. You can join the All One Nurse Facebook community where we grow in faith, confidence, and connection. And once you're in, because it's private, head to the featured section and vote in our weekly meetups because we are relaunching the All One Nurse weekly meetups. And I would love to meet with the majority available. Your voice will help shape our time together. And if you're not following All One Nurse on any of our social media platforms, you're missing out on encouragement, resources, and community moments through the week or throughout the week. And if social media isn't your thing, no worries. You can simply go to the All One Nurse website and subscribe through the website so that you'll never miss new blogs, resources, or updates. And until next time, keep leading with love, keep caring with purpose, and we are all one nurse and letting your light shine. Bye.